guys, Mr. Mackey here. Now yesterday I showed you a box plot and I wanted you to find a set of 7 numbers that meet the conditions to create this box plot. So firstly we can find our first and last number in this 7 number sequence by looking at the whiskers, which show the highest and the lowest. Now on this one the whisker is pointing to 5, so we know that the lowest number in this will be 5. And on this side the whisker is pointing to 19, so we know the highest will be 19. Now let's look at the first quartile, which is this part of the box, which is pointing to 8. So we'll put our 8 here. Then we look at the upper quartile, which is pointing to 14, so we'll put 14 here. Now finally, we look at our median, which is pointing to 11, and 11 goes here. So what do we put in these 2 boxes? Well, it doesn't matter. As long as we can think of a number that's between 8 and 11 here, and between 11 and 14 here, it could be anything. We could even use the same number again. So I'm going to choose 9 and 12. It doesn't matter, you could use 10 and 13 because it still applies. And there we go. We have now created 7 numbers which fits the conditions of the box plot. Now we're going to be looking at box plots in a bit more detail today, and we're going to be making comparisons and interpretations from them. What do I mean? Let's get into it. Now, in my opinion, box plots are such a good way to settle arguments like the school A and school B that I usually do, because it not only represents it so you can visually identify the comparisons, but you can also identify from just looking at this an average and the spread. So here's what we're going to be doing today. We have school A and school B, and they did a test out of 25 regarding maths, because you know they've been watching my videos. And I wanted to make 3 observations thanks to this box plot. Now this is a very common question you'll get in a test or an exam, which is you're able to pick up information from this. So I want to figure out 3 facts, 3 things you can learn. So let's look. Well, for example, on school A, we can see that the lowest score someone got was a 5, and the highest score someone got was 18. Whereas in school B, the lowest score was a 2 and the highest was 15. So we could say that the lowest and highest scores better in A. I would write more, but not much space on the whiteboard. So much space that I drop a pen. So the lowest score and the highest scores are better in school A compared to B. That's 1 point. We have taken into account the whiskers. Now let's look at number 2. Now for these 2 points, I want to focus more on the boxes themselves. Now for A, we can see that it starts at 5 and ends at 18, and even the boxes, it starts at 8 and ends at 12. So there isn't really much of a spread. The spread is really small. We can see that it's quite small. So for A, there's a slow spread. Whereas B, it is quite spread out. It goes from 2 to 15, which is the same spread, which is the same range as A, fair enough. But the box plot is much bigger. So there's a much less consistency in their results. And what else can we pick up? Well, what about our median? For B, it's 12. For A, it's 11. So the final thing we can pick up is that the median, which is the average in this case, is actually higher on B. So our median is higher in B compared to A. So even though that A's lowest score and highest score are better than B, and that they have a smaller spread, B actually has a higher median. So we can make an argument on both cases. So all you have to do is understand what the components of a box plotter are and be able to identify things from them. So I think it's time for your challenge. So here is your challenge. School B and School A decided to rival themselves again because there's no please in them, and they've decided to do a literacy test out of 25 as well. 25 is a good mark. Now, I'm going to write 3 facts from what I have seen when looking at these two box plots. However, one of them is false. Two of them are true, one of them is false. And your challenge today is to identify the false statement. So here's fact number one by looking at it. A has a higher interquartile range. Fact number two, B has a higher median. And C, the ranges, well, fact number three, so the ranges are the same. So, A has a higher interquartile range, B has a higher median, and the ranges are the same. One of those is not true, the others are. Good luck with this. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're doing. Tomorrow we're going to be moving away from box plots and looking at another way to represent our data. But that's for tomorrow. Let's focus on today's. Take care, guys. I'll see you then.